And not only did she fall asleep, she drooled all over my arm.
The dating coach basically told me that everything I was doing was wrong.
I've never even heard of a Louis Vuitton diaper bag. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Just burped in the mic. I hope people can't hear that, but I just burped. I didn't mean to.
Hi there, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. This is T.
And I'm Kay.
And we are T&Kay, the Spectrum Way.
A little bit about ourselves.
We took a really long time to get that intro down.
That's what you're going to talk about?
We just did it for like 20 minutes, so.
We're not supposed to tell people. We're supposed to look like professionals.
Okay. I'm sure they'll have to figure that out.
We'll put it in the bloopers.
Put it in the bloopers. Yeah. So we're going to kind of start out. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I hate that question. So how about we switch it up?
We don't like that question now, do you?
No, I hate talking about myself,
Yeah,
especially
me too, actually, I get it.
Especially in this type of setting. So let's change it up just a little bit. I'm Kay, and I am a 32-year-old female. I am on the spectrum. I have level 1 autism, and I was late diagnosed actually this July, and that's all I can talk about. I don't know what else to say. I get okay, I'm way out of my comfort zone doing this podcast. A lot of the reason is because, one, I don't I have a hard time talking about things. And so there's going to be a lot of ums and likes, and that's probably going to annoy a lot of people. But one of the things that I'm really not good at is being social. And so this is like a huge step out of my comfort zone. But I think that the value in this podcast is so important, and I just want to be able to talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's great. Great intro.
Talk about yourself.
Yeah. Hi there, everyone. So my name's T, and I'm 31 years old, and we've been engaged for how long now? What, 2 years? No, almost.
You're
year and a half?
asking me how long we've been engaged?
That's a bad one.
I don't know numbers.
Yeah, I think it's about a year and a half. I think we've been engaged.
Okay.
I love to be outside. I love to teach martial arts and be involved in like boxing, kickboxing. I love anything to do with like photography, videography, and I just really like hanging out and having a good time with people and
He's
friends.
honestly talented at so many different things. Anything he puts his mind to, he's so talented at. And this was all his idea. And in less than a week, we had mics, we had video editing, we had lights that are blinding, by the way. I hate these lights. Like, they put me in such a bad mood. But for you people, I will endure it. I
think it's worth it for the message, right? And I think the message that we're really trying to showcase is that
it can work.
It can work. Yeah.
I think that's really important to note, because when you read, and I'm sure as a lot of autistic people do, reading about certain things, relationships, only 35% of people that are diagnosed actually get married.
Yeah, it's a pretty low statistic. So.
And to be honest, I think that is a little skewed, because I think there's a lot of people that are undiagnosed for lots of reasons. Maybe they mask their whole life. Ayo. Or maybe they don't have the funds to be able to be diagnosed late in life. There's lots of reasons. So for that, I will say I'm sure there's more out there. But all I know is that when I was reading these statistics, it really hurt me. And the reason it hurt me was because I automatically was like, how am I going to make this last with T? Because if these are my odds, I just like I thought that it was hopeless, to be honest.
And finding love would be very difficult and almost impossible with the statistics, right? So,
Well, and not only finding love, but like keeping the love that I had, because I had already been engaged to him and then found out I was autistic and then was looking up all the things that come with that, where I was like, okay, like, what does this mean for our relationship? What does this mean for having kids? And there's just so many unanswered questions. And so I just want to be a voice out there, especially with my fiance, telling you that it can work. Now, it takes someone that is really caring and really, really patient to be with someone like me.
so we're gonna kind of take you guys through the journey,
Yeah.
as we kind of talk about different topics and different things that we want to kind of convey to to people that might be in a similar situation to us. So, or even just have interest. I think.
So,
So
how did
let's
we meet? Let's
yeah.
let's start at the beginning.
So we met on this lovely little dating site called Tinder.
Tinder. Oh my goodness. So we were both not looking to hook up. I just want to put that
Yeah.
out there right now. I was on, like, I don't know. For me personally, it was during COVID, and I was really, really hyper focused on my business. I own a business. It's a party company where we dress up as characters. My special interest is Disney princesses.
Mhm.
And I really had my focus on my business. And then COVID hit and everything just went sideways. And then I started just really thinking about the things that make me happy. And I realized that I was missing a person in my life. I wanted to find love, and I hadn't really been interested in love. I just burped in the mic. I hope people can't hear that, but I just burped. I didn't mean to, but it just came out. Shit. Okay, anyway. Oh, I wanted to also give a disclaimer that because I'm socially awkward and because sometimes I don't know how this disclaimer is going to go out, but sometimes I say really inappropriate things. And I just want you to know, like, my heart, I'm never meaning to hurt someone. So I want to make that really clear, that if you are offended listening to this podcast ever, please know I'm not trying to hurt someone. I'm just very blunt, and sometimes, well, all the time, I generally say what I'm thinking, which isn't good. Anyway, so back to what I was talking about.
Back to our story. So we met on
Yeah.
Tinder.
We met on Tinder. And like I said, I had several platforms, but I had never really used dating platforms like the normal way, not realizing, of course, that I was autistic at the time. Like, for example, when I would go to meet up with someone on a date, I would completely close off my account and be like, oh, like, I found someone, so I don't want them thinking that I'm like looking at other people. So I would actually delete my account every time. And then I found out that that actually just looks really creepy. That's not actually like
You're trying to
a good
do it
way
as
of
a way
doing
to
it.
show commitment, but instead of it showing commitment, people are kind of like, "Oh, okay, she's like hyper invested in me."
Yeah. So I ended up in COVID going on a streaming platform called Meet Me. And it was amazing because I just got to be myself and I just got to share my life with people at home, and they got to know my animals, and it was really awesome. And one of the things that was really cool about Meet Me is they had shows. And a show that I was on was, there was a dating coach, and the dating coach basically told me that everything I was doing was wrong. And it showed anxious attachment style of dating. Now, because I'm autistic and didn't know it at the time, I took that very literally. And so the next person I decided to date, I decided I would do everything differently. And that's where our story starts because that's exactly what I did. There were a couple of times. So I'm very old fashioned, and I believe a man should be very old fashioned too. And I'm very strict with and what's it called? Like rigid. I'm very rigid with the way that the what's the word
You're
I'm
very
looking for?
rigid in your mindset, so
Yes.
things don't necessarily change very quickly if
No.
you set your mind on how something is supposed to be done in a certain way.
So for an example, he messaged me and he wanted to meet up at the restaurant, or he wanted me to go to his house and then we'd go from there. Now, usually I wouldn't go with him because I'd be like, no, a man is supposed to pick you up at the door. That's romantic. That's the fairy tale. And so I was messaging him being like, I don't think this is gonna work. And we hadn't even met yet. And I was already like writing him off, being like, I don't think this is gonna work because you're not old fashioned enough. But I stopped myself from writing that message because of what the dating coach said. And lo and behold, here we are today.
And
So,
from my perspective, as I was doing that too, I kind of had it in my head that I would do away with old fashioned values, and that when it and that when it came to dating, things should be like more equal, more like split 50-50. So
baby, how is it now?
it's definitely not that way now.
No,
We're definitely to
we're
old
old
fashioned.
fashioned. That's right.
But when I was kind of doing that, that's why I was like, yeah, you know what, like. You want to meet me here? Like, sure, like I'll pay for dinner, but like I want you to make the effort to like, come out and actually like see me. So if we, if you had that rigid mindset, we never would have met in the first place.
And that's probably why they say the marriage rate is so low.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Because honestly, I did everything that I wouldn't usually do on the first date. And that is no word of a lie. Um, I want to give a shout out to the dating coach. Her name is Dr. Morgan, and she's incredible. I will link her podcast somewhere in the links of wherever this goes.
She does a lot of cool stuff too
She's
to
amazing.
kind of look into. So
All
definitely
right.
check her out for sure.
So, what was our first impressions of each other?
Well,
By the way, you guys, we have like notes as to what questions we're gonna ask because I would be so screwed without it. Okay, I'm ready.
first impression, I think of you.
Yes.
When I initially met
Oh,
you,
Bubba, what did you think of me?
when I initially met you, I mean, I was kind of I was impressed with like obviously how you looked, and I was very happy with that. And
Oh.
when I went into the restaurant and we went to go sit down, it got really like awkward, and I thought it was really weird because we had phone conversations like leading up to this point. So you sit down in the restaurant and
Wait,
you
how
just
are the phone conversations?
the phone
before you
conversations
continue?
were fine. They were like we probably talked for 4 or 5 hours on the phone, kind of leading up
We
to it.
probably talked about my special interest.
And
Anyway, continue.
it was like the conversation just floats. Like, all right, great. You know what? Let's give this a shot. Let's sit down, right? Let's go out for dinner. Let's do this, right? So we go out for dinner, and like it was weird because you just like I want to say just stopped communicating, and then you looked really like stiff and like nervous. So I was asking questions to try and like warm it up and like pull it out.
All right. So from my perspective on this, I thought that I was normal and I thought that our date was going great. I did not at all think I was nervous or stiff. I thought he was asking all these questions because he was really into me. And I remember thinking in my head, being like, wow, he's asking a lot of questions about me. He must be really interested. Like, I must be killing it.
And realistically, I was just asking questions because I had nowhere else to go. I'm like, she's not asking anything. She's not engaging with me. I'm like, oh my God.
That
like,
is one thing it
this
said
is-
on my diagnosis was my social reciprocation is very low. So like I gotta work on that.
Yeah,
Clearly.
so I totally thought she just wasn't even interested. And then I was like, okay, like we finished off the date and we went back and
We watched a movie.
yeah.
And that's all it was. We watched a movie. And again, something happened, you guys. Something happened. He asked me, do you want to watch a horror movie? Now, usually my response, because I do not like horror movies at all, like, I will have nightmares for days. I take it to literally, I literally become in the movie, any movie. So it was not, I was not excited about that. And no word of a lie, I thought about saying no and then remembered Dr. Morgan and was like, okay. And I did not say what I actually wanted to say, which was
Absolutely not.
absolutely not.
However,
and have we watched a horror movie since?
we have, but it's been like one.
I like the Quiet Place.
Yeah, we watched The
But
Quiet Place.
okay,
We
so
like
I have
that.
this thing where like it can't look like humans or ghosts or spirits or anything like that, and then I'm okay. Like if it looks like an alien, then I'm like okay, like I can differentiate.
So,
anyway, beside
anyways,
the point.
you fall asleep in my house.
Wait.
You full
Wait,
out.
Okay, wait. We start watching the movie. I don't want to get scared, so I just kind of
She
put
just
my
fell
head.
asleep. She just completely fell asleep. And not only did she fall asleep, she drooled all over my arm. And I looked at the
forgot
drool.
about that.
My arm was soaking wet. And I was
Okay,
like,
and
this
I
is
would
the
just-
weirdest thing
hang on.
ever.
I would just like to say as well, guys, I was sleeping on his lap and I woke up to him recording me and I was like, what is
Absolutely,
he
I recorded it.
doing?
And I wish I had the footage too, because it was on my old phone, which the motherboard blew on it. So I don't have that footage anymore. But it was hilarious. I couldn't believe it. I was like, there's no way this first day is happening right now. She's asleep, passed out on my lap, drooling on my arm. I'm like, the boys are never gonna think that this happened. I was like, we're pulling out our phone. We got to get some footage here.
And
Yep.
then I went home, no kiss. I don't kiss on a first date. Like I think that's
It was really mixed signals. So I have like the signals that I'm getting initially are like, oh, she's not interested. Like she's really like, and then it's like she's wanting to watch the movie. Okay. And then it's like, well, she must be comfortable enough if she's fallen asleep and drooled on my arm. And then it's like, okay, like maybe it didn't go as bad as I thought.
So that happened. I went home at around I think 3 a.m. because like I was sleeping. Okay, and I would just like to also point out he put me to sleep because he was just going like this to like putting my hair behind my ears and like that is the spot. I am very sensory and like just anything like that. But yeah, I also think I was just really burnt out from the conversation or from dinner where to the point where I just fell asleep at his house.
And that's pretty common for you.
And and so I went home and I'm pretty sure I messaged you that night. Did I not?
Yeah, it was the exact night we went home.
I went.
Or you went home, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, like, I don't know how this went. And then you messaged me and you're like, so when's the second date? And I'm like, okay, like I definitely must have done something right. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said, so did you think it went like okay, one thing, and I'm sure if you are autistic and listening to this, you can relate, but one thing I can say about myself is that I am very blunt. And so it's always very blunt communication. Like whenever my girlfriends would tell me, "Oh, like you got to play the game. You got to make them wait a couple of days." I'm like, fuck that. I cannot make them wait at all. Like I gotta tell them because how will they know if I don't tell them? It's honestly because that's how it is for me. So I messaged him and I think I said something like, so I'm just making sure like that we are on the same page and that we both like each other because I really like you and I hope you really like me because I'm hoping like we're gonna see each other again. So
it was
when
so
is that?
direct, like right off the bat. Like usually you have to kind of play this weird back and forth game about being like, oh, how long do I wait to text? When do I communicate? What do I say? Hey, how'd it go? Right? Or whatever. I didn't have to do any of that. Literally within like 3 hours, you're back home being like, great, like I had a great time. This is what I felt. When's the next date? And I'm like, well, that just took all the guesswork out of everything. So, like, as much as, coming from the dating scene, especially where, you have to, do that so often, it was actually quite refreshing.
I would also like to say I did have 2 deal breakers, and every I'm sure people can relate to this.
Here we go.
So, whenever I go into a dating situation, on the first date, I always let them know my expectations of marriage.
I'm going to tell them. Here we go.
Okay.
So we're sitting there.
Make sure they know it's my special interest.
We're in the restaurant. And, like, you got to realize that, like, I'm thinking she's joking. And she's just like, yeah, so I have 2 things that I need. And I'm like, okay, like, what are they? She's like, I don't care, but if this...
Hang on. That's not how I said it. I didn't say it like 2 things I need.
Tell us how you said it.
I said, I'm only materialistic about 2 things. That's how I said it.
Okay.
And I know because it was scripted. And I said, I'm only materialistic about 2 things. And you said, oh, yeah? Like, what's that?
You know what they were? Number 1, Louis Vuitton diaper bag.
I saw it on Newlyweds, Jessica Simpson.
I've never even heard of a Louis Vuitton diaper bag. I didn't even know it was a thing.
I don't know if it is either. I just
But
really
you
want
wanted
one.
a Louis Vuitton diaper bag, and you wanted a $30,000 engagement ring.
Yes.
And I looked at her in the restaurant. I turned.
Wait. But why do I want a $30,000 engagement ring?
Because it's your special interest, which
I
we found out later.
Diamonds.
But I turned to you in the restaurant. You got to remember this. This is the first date. Like, this isn't deep in. This is the first date. I turned to her, and I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, right? Like, I played it off because I thought...
Check. Perfect. He hits all the marks. That's great.
I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a joke, right? You didn't think it was a joke at all. You were, like, dead serious. You're just like, yeah, like, fantastic. He's on board. He's going to get me this. He's going to get me that. And I'm like, didn't even realize this until, like, 8 months later or something like that?
It was not 8 months.
Yeah,
it was 3 months.
All right, it was a while, but I didn't actually think that she was serious, because who would say that on a first date? Like, nobody would.
Honestly, right? I remember having a conversation with him afterwards where he's like, no, babe, I'm not going to get you, like, a $30,000 engagement ring. And I was like, but you said you would. And I'm like, I literally asked you about this on the first date. What do you mean no? And I just wanted to clarify, because I did say it had to be worth that, but I didn't want him to pay that. I'd rather it come from a pawn shop, or if he had an heirloom, I didn't care about the price. That's way more important. But sadly, he didn't have an heirloom.
No heirlooms.
So yeah, I think
that's how. I mean, that's pretty much the initial story of how we met. Yeah. And I think for, like, some of our first interactions, I mean, there's a whole ton more, obviously. But,
and obviously, you have to tune in to hear that.
Yeah, well, we got a lot more coming down the pipe. So, we hope you guys really enjoyed this, and you kind of enjoyed, hearing a couple different sides.
And I hope that you will follow our journey of self-discovery for me. And, of course, acceptance, understanding from his point of view. He's so sweet. And yeah, I hope you follow this journey with us and that you like our podcast. We're just trying to be real.
Yeah, if you want to support us, then, the best way, just drop us a like, leave a comment, let us know. Maybe
comments are so helpful. And if you have any ideas as to what you would like to see on the podcast or like the video, like whatever, tell us.
We're pretty open to topics. Again, this isn't we want this to be as inclusive to everyone. So, if you got questions, if you want us to talk about anything, let us know, right? But yeah, drop us a like, comment. If you subscribe to us, fantastic. And, we're really happy to kind of bring you guys some more content coming up the pipe. So
I feel like we need to have, and I don't like up the pipe. That's weird.
But down the pipe.
No. No pipe.
No pipes?
No pipe.
Okay.
That's weird. Ugh. Reminds me of dick. Anyway.
Okay.
It does. Okay, anyway, what I was gonna say though is we need to kind of have like a sign out.
Okay.
Maybe
Maybe just sign out.
T&Kay out.
Sure.
1, 2,
2, 3.
T&Kay
T&Kay out.
No, it wasn't together.
No?
One more time.
Okay.
1.
T&Kay out.
out.